All righty. I think we are live and kicking here in Southern California, San Diego to be exact, at the iHeart Studios. Good morning, one and all. Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Garden America. We are back. We've done our pregame. We've done our green room activities, as it were here. John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. I'm Bryan Main. We welcome you today. Somebody said, who's your guest? I said, we have three guests today.
You, yourself, and I?
Yeah, the three of us.
Me, myself, and I?
We're the guest. Somebody guessed Manny, Mo, and Jack. That wasn't right. Although I'd like to get them on sometime. That would be interesting.
I think they're dead, if I'm not mistaken.
But they have families, kids and stuff,
would
don't
destroy the studio.
they? Yeah. Anyway, hope you had a good week. Here we are, kicking off the weekend.
Tiger thought you were talking about the Three Stooges.
Who is Manny, Mo, and Jack?
The Pep Boys.
Oh, who are the Three Stooges?
Well, that would be Mo, Larry, and Curly.
Oh, okay.
And occasionally Shemp.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's funny.
I that went right over my head. I missed that. I missed that, yeah. Yeah, the Pep Boys, Manny, Mo, and Jack.
Did they have a show too?
No, I think they had a law firm.
What?
No, they were. Is Pep
The
Boys
Pep
even
Boys.
still around?
No, it is not.
Yeah,
I know what Pep Boys is,
They
but
went defunct. There's three little made-up characters with mustaches.
were they made up? They
No,
weren't real?
They were real
They
people.
were real people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think they weren't they brothers or relatives?
I guess. Manny, Mo, and Jack.
they owned an auto parts / repair store.
Yeah, it's
Right.
kind of like Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Who's that? I mean, I've heard that term before.
That would be like you act like every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Out
Right?
there.
Is that just a term?
just a term? Like
But it
you're
doesn't
like
actually.
everybody
There's
else.
not a real Tom, Dick, and Harry.
I'm sure there are, but maybe just not together in the same place.
Okay.
Tom, Dick, and Harry to Tiger is probably like 23 Skidoo would be to us.
What?
Now, 23 Skidoo was our. No, that's my parents' generation.
Yeah,
That's what
I'm
he's saying.
It was that. So
Oh, trickling down.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like you heard 23 Skidoo and like
you
I
go,
say, like
what?
I've heard Tom, Dick, and Harry before, but
Have
I
you
don't
heard
know
the
what
song,
it means.
Dozy Dotes and Mary. What's that?
Mersey Dotes and
Dozy Dotes and Little Dams.
No, and Little Lambs Eat Ivy.
Yeah,
No,
never heard
Little
that.
Lambs Eat Ivy. Kid'll eat Ivy too, wouldn't you? Something like
See,
that.
that's where John has a few more years on.
So
me.
I, it's funny that you talk about this. I know. Hey, and welcome to Garden America, everybody. That's just turning in.
Yeah, what show is this? I
Yeah.
got to turn my dial here.
But it's super funny because I am currently going through that moment in time where talking with my kids, I'm finding out how aged I really am. I mean, just the other day, you guys know who Justin Timberlake is.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
you know who he is, John?
yeah, lumberjack.
Okay.
He's been around for like 30 years.
Right. He came on the radio the other day, and Isaac's like, "Who's this?" I go, "Oh, it's Justin Timberlake." And he's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like,
Oh, boy.
"You don't know who Justin Timberlake is?" He's like, "No, don't know who Justin."
Was he
Timberlake.
now? Was he New Kids on the Block or was he the other one?
He was in sync.
In Sync. Okay.
Yeah.
I think
New Kids on the Block was before.
Really?
That was like when we were small children.
See, to me, that's after I was already adult, grown, working. So
I think it went New Kids on the Block, Backstreet Boys, and then
Backstreet
NSYNC.
Boys. There you go. I think.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if somebody on Facebook is correcting us or chiming in.
Well, as long as you're talking about generational things, and Tiger, you've mentioned this to me before about how garden clubs you thought were dying out.
Yes.
And that nobody was going to them. But I'm wondering if this is just my perception because of my involvement with Rose Societies, but I see younger people beginning to join, people in their 30s. Joining, I don't know about regular garden clubs, but a lot of Rose Societies all of a sudden.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a new influx of people that are interested in the subjects, whether it be roses or plumeria or orchids or bromeliads
Right,
or
or
whatever
general
it is.
gardening.
Things do come full cycle. And I got to give YouTube a lot of credit for having access. People can log on. They can see things. They can learn things. And they'll come across a lot of things by mistake. They go, what is this? What? That's kind of cool. Is that what rose is or whatever? What rose is that or whatever plant or whatever topic or subject? Like with my son Eric, when he got a little older, I would talk about something historical, and he'd say, "Well, what was that like?" And let's go to YouTube. I can probably bring up a video. Here are the Beatles at Shea Stadium in 1965. At that time, it was the largest concert venue ever, and they were the first group to play a stadium, and he could actually watch it.
Well, and I really, applaud those people that do come out for the garden clubs because, to what Bryan's saying, and there's a lot of resources out there, but I will say an in-person meeting with someone who has a passion for whatever it is that you maybe share a passion for is way more valuable than a YouTube video or online tutorial or
probably way more correct.
Yeah, and then not only just correct, but correct to you.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is we've talked about this before where, I mean, even us, we're talking about gardening. We live in San Diego. We have great knowledge. I mean, John, you moved all across the country and have gardened, all over. I grew up in San Diego, so my familiarity with gardening is Southern California. People that are in Texas and Florida and, Wisconsin and Michigan and other places might listen to the program and be like, those guys don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
But it's just because we're familiar with who we are and what we have to work with here.
And my point was that YouTube is a tickler. It can gain your interest, and then you seek somebody out.
Yeah.
Then you go, you know what? I want to look into this a little more. And I absolutely agree. Getting one-on-one, like we talked about before the show, and then gaining interest, and then that person tells somebody else, and there you go. And perhaps you do have a situation where people are back doing things that everyone used to do.
Tanya mentions that Tanya in San Jose mentions that the cactus and succulent clubs are doing really well across the country.
Yeah.
In San Diego, she says, has got the big convention coming up.
Oh,
April 23rd.
Is it a society convention? Do you know what it is?
It's she says, the Cactus and Succulent Club of America.
Whoa, that sounds big.
I
It's
think
like Garden America.
Yeah,
not quite as big.
How are we not involved with that?
Well, maybe we should be there.
Yeah.
I
like
like
we
it.
did
Where's
the Plumeria Society.
Yeah.
Where's it going to be?
Room 101. Balboa Park.
Seriously?
Well, the last time I went, it was in Balboa Park, so I'm pretty sure that it's there. A lot of good.
Pull it up. Cactus and
Succulent Society Biennial Convention, San Diego.
America.
Boy, you can really get into do a deep dive with cactus and succulents.
Yeah,
John,
right.
you ought to write a book or be part of a book that broaches that subject.
I could
don't you
write
think?
a book on the subject. 2 of them.
No, it's coming to San Diego,
that's
April
the joke.
23rd through 27th.
Yeah. Hook us
That's
up,
a
Tiger.
week. That's
I'm
Monday.
working
through,
on it right now.
That's wow. Not just a day or two, 5 days.
Oh, yeah.
These people are serious.
Well, not only that, there's the greatest selection of cactus and succulents to buy.
See,
You might even buy
well,
something.
see, this is it. Most people have the basics, cactus here, succulent there. Then you go to a convention like this and you do a deep dive and you say, really, that's a cactus? That's a succulent? I can grow that? Like you say, you're going to see things you've never seen before.
Right. They probably have. I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty sure they have seminars at the same time.
We should do a show from there. If
It would be fun.
It's at the Mission Valley Marriott.
Oh,
All right. And it's, 5 days. I assume it would start at the end of the week and go through the weekend? Are the dates on there? I know that's the 20th, but what are those dates?
yeah. We need to do a Saturday. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
Saturday, Sunday.
Saturday, right?
Sunday. April 26th is the Saturday.
There we go.
All right.
There'll be they got a ton of stuff happening.
Thursday I spoke at the Del Mar Rose Society. The topic was roses around the world, the prospect of saving rose varieties in the 21st century.
How did you remember all that?
That wasn't the speech that I gave. That was just the title.
Oh, I thought.
How did you just remember that?
I mean, even the title. To recall that. In fact, I couldn't even repeat what you just said.
I think I'm going to give it. There was some people there from the San Diego Rose Society, and they asked me to give it to them in March, so I'll be redoing it in March. As a matter of fact,
You're like a comedian who goes from town to town, city by city, tells the same jokes, but repackages them for the audience.
I give a lot of talks to rose societies, and you think that one Rose Society is going to be similar to another. If I went blindfolded to the Del Mar Rose Society, I would have realized I was somewhere different, because it's the only place I've ever been where they offered champagne when you walked in.
Oh, this must be Del Mar.
Wow, fancy.
Hey, on that note, we're going to take a break. Now, normally we get a hold of our
champagne.
guest during the first and second segments here during the break. But alas, no guest this week. It is us all the way through the show, welcoming those on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Bryan Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. Our first break for Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. This is Garden America. All righty, we are back from the break. Thank you to our Fertilome, our major sponsor, the reason that we are broadcasting, the reason we're on the air, the reason we're on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live, and all those other streaming and digital outlets that you're so familiar with, John. Pandora, Spotify, Google, Alexa will play the latest
Google, I heard
podcast.
of Google.
Have you really?
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on. On and on and on. So we're going to look into the
It's infinite.
that convention, the cactus and succulent convention.
Yeah. You should do a book signing there.
Why not?
Yeah.
Bring your books and set them up.
Any book, I'll sign any of your books.
Who are you anyway?
Yeah. I don't know if my books are and cactus and succulents. I think they're more basic. People who go there, I think.
I see what you're saying, but you
Yeah.
know what? There's newbies.
Yeah, well, that's true.
There's newbies.
When I talked to the Del Mar Rose Society, there was a woman who said, "This is my first meeting." Actually, she was from India, but she lived in Del Mar now, and she said it was her first meeting. She only had 10 roses, but she wanted to learn.
See?
Yeah.
You got to start someplace. Lenore likes the flowers in the newsletter.
Whose flower was that?
Which one?
Oh, maybe yours.
You asked me which. This is the one that you gave me in a little.
This was a while ago, though, because I gave you a new one for Christmas,
Right,
and
this-
it was not that one.
No, that one's still small.
Yeah, this one I gave you was the calla lily called Green Goddess.
And it was in a little teeny pot.
Yeah.
And I should have stood back and taken a picture of the whole thing. It's
Should have done a time lapse.
It's huge. This thing is taken off because I transplanted it, put it in a big pot.
It looks like somebody took a paintbrush
Just
with green
splattered it?
paint and just painted the end of the flower.
You said, now when you transplant it, you suggested soil, which
Yeah.
I contemplated for a while and thought, you know what, let me give this a shot. He seems to know what he's talking about. Bless you, by the way. You can't get away from that. That has to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
You didn't hide that.
I did not.
Anyway.
Snuck up on me.
You're
Hey,
not
so-
one of those people that just throws those bless yous around either.
No,
You really mean it.
I do. Gesundheit. What was that in Seinfeld? Instead of saying, God bless you.
You're so good looking.
So good looking. And if that was the case, people would sneeze more. So people are probably wondering as we are, second segment into the show, what is it you guys are going to talk about today? What did the newsletter
Tiger,
say?
is it your birthday?
My birthday? No.
Why are you picking up a gift from your dad?
I don't know.
Oh.
Is there a message?
Well, a message from Mission Hills Nursery. It says, "Good morning, guys. Tiger, stop by today to pick up a gift from your dad."
No. Maybe he just wants to give me a gift.
The gift could be an invoice,
Yeah, exactly. A bill.
a bill that
Some
you have
kind
to
of bill.
pay.
Speaking
Exactly.
of bills, am I scheduled yet or not worked into the schedule?
I'm still working on it, man.
Okay.
Still working on it. Well, by March, right? That's your deadline?
No. There's no deadline.
No, but like
Just
aren't
whatever
you trying?
works out. It would be nice, but
Yeah.
Oh, to have the work done at your place?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just because of the wedding coming up.
His beautification project. That's fun. That's
It's
fun.
fun.
It's fun.
It's
like,
fun planting now because the soil, we had a little bit of rain.
Yep.
Softer.
And it got, after the first rain we had 2 rains, right?
Yeah.
The first rain, I went out there and tried to dig with a shovel, and I got down half an inch.
Oh,
Look who just checked in from Michigan.
It's my brother.
oh, it's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
Nice. So second rain.
He's going to be out here in March.
We should have him
Coming
be a
with
guest.
his, my brother and sister-in-law.
For the wedding that Tiger's doing the work to beautify.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he'll pitch in. My brother's a great do-it-yourselfer.
What were we talking about? Oh, so the second rain. your first rain got down a half an inch.
Half an inch. The second one, I could get down a full shovel.
Oh, nice.
So that, and I put in a little bit of. The reason this is exciting to me is that because I planted probably 15 roses in the last few days. Only got one more gopher, but that puts me at 65. Where am I going with this?
Planting.
I usually everything that was planted on that hill had to be with a jackhammer before, but this time everything I could work with the shovel. And I think it's because I let all the weeds grow on the hill, and the roots went in and
started
everything
breaking
up.
everything apart. And no, there is
Loose
a
soil
lot
is
of
fun, isn't it?
loose soil.
It is cool. It is cool. But I have a lot of really rare. I think people would rather hear us talk about old records and sayings than they would about roses sometimes, the way I feel, because I just get into the weeds when we talk about roses, sometimes literally too. But anyway, there's Australia's most famous rose breeder was Alistair Clark in the 20s and 30s.
We just talked about him last couple of 2 or 3
I think we
weeks.
did, yeah. And there was a great collection of his roses at Descanso Garden, and one of the volunteers brought me cuttings, and I have enough now to where the one trellis area that I have, the one pergola, can be covered completely with Alistair Clark climbing roses.
Wow.
So I've got that, and then there's a whole bunch of bush roses. So I'm thinking that one whole area might be Australian roses.
The section from down under.
Yeah, yeah. And it is, if you look at my property, it is the section that's down under.
Right, south of the equator, as people say.
I don't know about south of the equator.
Yeah,
I
of
think
course
it's
it
still
is.
north of the equator.
No, but figuratively speaking.
Oh, you mean for them?
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
Now, are there any native roses to Australia?
No.
No, right? They've
There's-
all been
There's
brought
no
in.
roses native to the southern hemisphere.
Oh, yeah, I think you remember you saying
Yeah,
that
yeah.
before.
All roses
How
are
about
native
that for a
to
trivia
the
question?
northern hemisphere. We speaking, again, off on a tangent, but
That's okay. This is the tangent show.
We spoke. Do you remember? I think you were involved. Maybe not.
Depends. Tell the story. I'll tell you if I was there.
Okay. Well, it was years and years ago, when we used to do trivia questions on air.
Okay, so I'm with you so far.
Okay, and we did a trivia question where everyone had a part of a script to read, and we had Bert Senior did a part, and we had several people do parts of this trivia question, and it was a whodunit trivia question, and you had to find out who the killer was to win the thing. And there was an expedition going on in Africa, and the one person, everybody came in and told their story of where they were when the murder was committed. And one of the researchers on the trip said that he had been caught on a cactus as they were exploring the African wilderness, and so there was no way that he could get back for their meeting in time, and that's when the guy was killed. And he says, well, it couldn't have been me because I was stuck on a cactus. So you hear all these different excuses people have, and you say, who's the killer? And it turned out to be the guy that said he was stuck on a cactus because there were no cactus
I was going to say,
native to the
Native
old
to that.
world.
It is break time. Maybe some more stories coming up. John, harken back if you would. Hey, whatever's on your mind, Facebook Live, questions, comments, feel free. Those on Biz Talk Radio, thank you for tuning in. We are going to take a break. Bryan Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox here. It is Garden America. Happy weekend. Back after these messages. Okay, we trust you had a good break. Those on Biz Talk Radio a bit longer, thank you for supporting our sponsors. Thank you to Fertilome. Just got this text. It says, when is John going to do the quote of the week? Funny you should ask, and funny you should text at this time because he's going to do it right now.
Bryan, the quote is from Ruth Stout, who I don't believe was, but anyway, she is a garden writer.
Stout.
Right.
No,
Was stout.
I'm with you.
And she said, there's a privacy about winter which no other season gives you. In spring, summer, and fall, people sort of have an open season on each other. So only in the winter in the country can you have longer, quiet stretches when you can savor belonging to yourself.
That's a paragraph.
It was. It was good though.
Yeah, well, she's right. You know,
Yeah.
time of reflection.
And did we talk about this on air or just behind the scenes last week when I was talking to you guys about the Twilight Zone and how I've seen a shift in generations where there was that theme of loneliness in Twilight Zone and that scared to be alone and scared to be, deprived of social interaction. And I almost feel like we've shifted where I think more people are looking to be removed. Like I feel that quote.
Get you, yeah.
Like I feel that quote is that, embracing the loneliness kind of a thing that I feel like our generation almost looks for more.
They can never be alone.
Right.
They're just like, I wish I could be alone for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's
Here's
something else
I don't
too.
want any more input from airwaves.
Here's something to contemplate too. Speaking of social changes, pop culture, whatever. So the telephone was invented, mid 1800s, more or less. Telephone, late 1800s.
Alexander Graham Bell.
Right.
Come here, I need you.
So we've had the ability to speak to somebody over the phone.
Yeah.
Now, 150 years later, now we can text. Everybody's texting. I don't want to call. I'll just text. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Suppose that was different. Suppose they came up with texting back in the 1800s, and you couldn't talk to anybody for 100 years, and all of a sudden they said, hey, you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody. Really? I can talk to them?
Don't you think that texting
I think people would be more excited about that.
What came out before first? Was it the telegraph or the phone?
Marconi was first,
Marconi was first.
That was the telegraph.
I think.
That was
So
the
texting
that was
did
the radio.
come out.
Well, but you've got like Morse code, which they used back.
But that's what I'm saying. No, didn't like a telegraph?
Well, that's
didn't
how
that come out
that's how the
first?
Titanic and all those old ships would communicate with each
Right,
other.
so texting was first.
To a degree, yes. But you get my point.
Now we went backwards.
I remember in 19.
Tiger's ruining your story.
Yeah, I
with
am.
facts.
I am.
No, you know what he's doing?
But-
He's picking it apart so we can do a deep dive, and he's creating thinkers out of this room. Is what he's doing. But it's like I remember as a kid going to Disneyland, and Pacific Bell had a what do you want to call it? A room all set up.
Yeah.
Okay, and they had picture phones.
Oh.
And this is like early 60s, and they would let you like pick it up and see somebody.
See.
But it was different. It wasn't like computers, completely different technology.
Yeah.
And we're like, man, a few years there'll be picture phones and you can actually see somebody. Well, that never happened for another 40,
I remember
50
my
years.
dad telling me when I was a little boy, he would always go, someday they're going to have a phone and you can see who you're talking
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was just, how can it be? Somebody has to turn on their TV. How's this going to work?
Yeah. Hey, go ahead. Is there a question?
Come on, he's going to tie this into gardening somehow. You watch.
Well,
He's
I was
good at this.
No, I was going to mention that Paula, one of our faithful listeners, said that Ruth Stout did a wonderful movie of her garden, and Paula shared it with her New York friends. They had a
very
great
good.
party.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, to her quote, I have a question for our listeners, and I have a question for you guys in the room.
Solitude, being alone, all that.
And gardening.
Okay.
Would you rather? Because honestly, this is a special relationship, and I'm saying this is almost above like a marriage to me. Somebody that you could garden with in the same garden, meaning, like Janine and I, we have our areas. She works in the house. I work out of the house.
I got it.
If she was to come outside and start putting her input on what and how and why,
It would irritate you.
yes.
I know that.
Yeah.
and so
I know that from
are
experience.
there couples out there that do garden well together, and that is a special relationship, because when I'm gardening, when I'm out there working, I have my own path, my own way that I'm doing things.
Absolutely.
And it's easy for me because I make a decision, and whether it's A to C to D, back to B to end in Z, that's fine. I don't want someone out there being like, well, if you did it this way, this way, this way.
Yeah, but your decisions are based upon knowledge and previous experience.
Well, no, but I'm just saying in general, like, so
Tiger's
are there-
saying it would be like if he went in the house in the middle of Janine making dinner and started adding
Yes,
spices. And,
yes,
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah,
that.
same thing. Yeah, no, I get
So,
it.
so are there couples out there that do garden together, and
know
how
what?
does that work out?
I
Dave
thought
and
your,
Claire Erlinger.
I thought your question was going to be of anybody in history that you could garden with,
Oh,
a famous person, who would you like
Who
to
would it
garden
be?
with?
Ooh,
That's where I thought
that's
you
a
were
good
going.
one.
And that's another one, too, we can contemplate.
that's a good one.
Anybody in history or alive or passed on, who would you garden with?
Well, now that you bring that up, I'm
And
thinking.
Carla's got a question, too, by the
Well,
way.
this pertains to Carla's question because you
Beautiful.
said anyone in history, and then I'm thinking about the parable that Jesus had of the fig tree.
About the fig tree. I knew you were going there.
And Carla has a question about figs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we go from the Bible to Carla. And
Such a
she,
smooth transition, too, by the way.
Still on theme.
yeah, she's looking to put a fig tree in a pot, Tiger.
Ooh.
And the pot's the size of a half barrel.
Perfect.
And it might be a little bit smaller, but she's wondering, or she's considering Little Miss Figgy
Okay.
or Fignominal.
Yep.
And she's also seen Violette de Bordeaux recently, which is an older one. And she wants thoughts or advice on what to choose.
Well, I have experience with Fignominal, and I like it. So I've got no negative.
And it would probably be good for that size container.
Yes. So I have no negative things to say about Fignominal. Little Miss Figgy, I have not grown, but I've seen it. I know about it, and I don't think I have a negative against that. Besides that, maybe if I'm comparing the flavors to Fignominal to Little Miss Figgy, I like Fignominal. So, but I haven't tried Little Miss Figgy. Do you know anything about that one?
Not about the flavor, but I think that the Violette de Bordeaux is phenomenal flavor.
Uh-huh.
And but it's going to be larger than the other two.
Oh, okay.
It's still a dwarf, especially compared to a black mission, which is going to be a huge tree. But all of them, I think, would do in the container. Fignominal and Little Miss Figgy may last for more years in that container. But I think if it was me, I'd go with Violette or Bordeaux.
And I mean, the thing about figs too is, number one, they're like loquats in the sense of the production is just always through the roof. You
Well,
know,
also like loquats in the fact that you don't see them very often in supermarkets.
No, you
yeah.
don't.
So
because they don't ship well.
yeah, like to get them, like you have to be very seasonal or a farmer's
Yeah.
market or something like that.
Yeah.
But so they produce. So even a small tree is going to produce enough for a family. But then the other thing too is that they take to pruning well, meaning you can control its size really easily and still have good production, still have a good sized plant. So, try, how do you say it? Violette de Bordeaux?
Violette
de
Bordeaux.
Bordeaux.
Right.
Violette de Bryan. Bordeaux. But try it because, even if it is going to get a little bit bigger, it
It's
can be
almost
proved.
like a heritage fig. A lot of those heritage fruits have some of the best flavor.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why, like we talked about this with the avocado, the reason why they maybe haven't become more popular isn't because of the flavor or anything. It's because they don't ship well, like you say, or they don't package, or they don't.
And those
last.
are the kind of things you should grow. It's
Yeah,
things
because you can't get.
can't normally get. Sometimes you think like apples. Like
I will
can buy
say-
apples
I will s-
every day
Go
of
ahead,
the
go
year.
ahead, Tiger.
I will say though, Carla, I highly recommend planting it in a cactus mix because
Drainage?
I found that especially in the wintertime, the figs will rot in a heavy potting soil even. But I mean, at the same time, if you're not a good waterer, they do love water.
And also, don't you think as the roots fill out the container, that's not as much of a problem
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's not going to hold as much water.
It's not going to hold as much
Yeah,
water.
I guess it depends where you are. Carla is on the coast, and so they're going to dry out
We got to
You're
take a
pointing
break.
at me.
I know. We got to take a break.
You're pointing at me.
You're pointing at me. Hey, a break for Biz Talk Radio. Back after these messages. This is Garden America. Okay, we are back. If you are tuned in on Biz Talk Radio, this is the final segment of Hour 1. We do this for 2 hours every Saturday. News coming up top of the hour for Biz Talk Radio only, and then we resume it 6 minutes after. For those of us on Facebook Live, though, we just it's one continuous loop. So sometimes we end up where we began, and sometimes we begin where we end up, John.
The talking about figs.
You were you real quick because you didn't finish
Right.
the soil.
Yeah, the soil thing.
Oh yeah, I was going to say on the soil, at least where I am, I excuse me, I would never use straight cactus mix, but I might mix.
Perlite or something?
No, I might mix cactus mix with potting soil.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but you probably should improve the drainage.
Yeah.
But again, the difference is going to be where are you? You know,
And how you water.
right?
Because like we
Yeah.
talked about, like if you're a good waterer, you have to have something more draining because you don't want to overwater things. If you're a bad waterer, you don't mind the heavy soils that hold moisture
Right.
because you're not going to water as frequent.
My picture in my mind just came up with somebody in a fire hose. That
Just
would
blasting.
be a bad water.
Just blasting.
Yeah, knocking things over.
You're a bad waterer, a very bad waterer.
So did someone ask about how to prune?
Yeah, that was Veronica.
Yeah. So I mean, it's obviously the time of year for us in Southern California to do a lot of our pruning with the dormant things. And the first place to start is any dead or broken branches or crossing branches. And number one, dead is because you're removing excess growth or plant energy, or work. Broken again for the same thing or just damaged areas. And then crossing is you're preventing areas on the plant to get wounds. Anytime you have a crossing branch, you're opening it up to rub up against each other during a wind or just normal growth, and then you can have a wound develop, which will open yourself up for like disease or a broken branch or an entangled or choked off branch. So you start with those first, and then just for figs, prune to shape. They respond pretty well to prune to shape.
If you prune them this time of year, though, figs usually have 2 crops.
Right.
And you might be pruning off some of the first crop.
Yeah.
But they do fruit on new wood, too. So I would say, like you're saying, just prune whenever you need to. Mm-hmm. You can let them grow as big as you want. Veronica in Spring Valley mentioned she has a blackjack fig in a pot. And do you remember blackjacks?
Yeah.
It might be a little bit before your time.
No, I remember.
But blackjack was touted as the first dwarf fig, even though it wasn't.
It wasn't. Yeah.
And when you plant blackjack in the ground, it gets to be 20 feet tall. And I would never...
Well, dwarf by what standards?
I would
No,
never
it's-
say that was a dwarf.
Yeah.
And fast growing, too.
Oh, figs are very fast growers.
Well, blackjack would grow fast. The reason I guess it was a dwarf, it would grow fast at 20 feet and stop.
That ideal plant.
Yeah, but anyway, Veronica has hers in a container, so maybe in a container it would constrict
Control
the
it.
size. Yeah, control it a little bit. So I don't know. Talking about the couples work gardening together.
Yeah, we got a lot of response on Facebook.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Lisa says that she works well with her husband because she directs him to pull weeds, trim trees.
Yeah. Gives them a checklist of things to do.
Yeah.
I love it. Are there some more comments?
Well, she doesn't trust him to water.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Watering is a big deal. I mean, the way that you water things and it's your garden, I've had the horror stories of people coming, oh, I went away and I had somebody water the garden for me enough. And it's just like, for some reason, it's just not the same as when you water, right?
Not at all.
And
Because, well, you know what? It's like,
but I mean, we're talking people that garden, we're talking people that do garden.
right, but if you drop your kids off with a babysitter,
yeah.
they become the quote-unquote parents for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little different.
Different.
They're still nurturing. They're still doing what they should do, but not the way you would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the watering thing. I know exactly what needs water, what doesn't need water.
Right.
I know how much to give a certain plant. Another plant's like, you know what? You're not ready to water yet. where somebody would come by and just water everything.
Yeah.
Unless you gave them a detailed list, and then they'd just go crazy and go, I'm just going to water everything because I can't remember.
Yeah.
This makes no sense to me.
Can't remember.
Lila mentions that when her and her husband gardened, that he digs the hole and she picks the flowers.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice. I had a conversation to what John was saying earlier with the dwarf, and this is I cannot stand mass merchant gardening stuff. I had somebody come to me and they were like, "Oh no, I got a dwarf Haas avocado," and I was like, "That doesn't exist."
Yeah, there's no such thing.
They're like, no, it says it on the label. I picked it up at, whatever, and it's a dwarf Haas. I'm like, that doesn't exist. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there is no dwarf, because or like when people tell me about the citrus and they go, no, this is a dwarf.
True dwarf.
This is a true dwarf.
Right.
Exactly. And I'm like, no, that doesn't right. exist.
But
like,
it says on the tag.
It's either a semi-dwarf or it's a standard. Right. And I go, and then even the semi-dwarf is only like 80% of a standard citrus height. Yeah. So and they have this perception because they go to these places and they see these tags, and these tags sell
right?
them on this little cute little 1-gallon kumquat that's fruiting, and it's a dwarf tree. They think it's going to stay that way. It's like, no, that is going to turn into a tree.
Well, the deceptive part about that is there are dwarf citrus.
Oh yeah,
and they're on flying dragon rootstock, and they'll only get to be 6 feet tall. But nobody grows on flying dragon rootstock because it takes so long to produce a plant. So you've got people putting out tags that are on semi-dwarf rootstocks, and they're called true dwarf.
True dwarf,
and they're not true dwarf.
No. Yeah,
they're lying dwarfs.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, when he told me, he's like, "Oh no, it's a Haas avocado that's dwarf." I go, no, like that. You've got Little Cotto, you got Mexico, you got these other varieties, but there is no
Holiday's a good one.
Yeah, Holiday, yeah. But I go, there is no dwarf Haas. It's not part of that.
Yeah, it's so deceptive when people that have little knowledge. Mm-hmm. Go into stores like that, and unless they talk to somebody like you, what happens, 6 months down the road when they're like, "Hey, this tag says this was a what?"
Yeah, or I mean,
was it mislabeled?
Yeah,
maybe it was mislabeled.
Yeah, no, you're so right. Like, and it's not even 6 months. Sometimes it's
less than that.
Well, or no, sometimes it's 3 years.
Yeah,
and they planted They planted that avocado next to their house because they thought it was a dwarf.
We got to take a break.
All righty.
It is top of the hour news for Biz Talk Radio. Do stay with us. Hopefully you get hour number 2, our second hour, 6 minutes after. For the rest of us on Facebook Live, back after news on Biz Talk Radio. A quicker break. This is Garden America. Well, we have returned. If you're on Biz Talk Radio, welcome to hour number 2. Hopefully you heard hour number 1. You can always go to our Facebook page every weekend and join us live. Garden America radio show. Interact and be part of the inner tribe, as John likes to call us here, those that are with us almost every single week from the beginning to the end. Again,
tribe.
That's gardenamerica.com as well. And again on Facebook Live.
We got a shout out.
6 minutes after the hour. Shout
out from our friend Hastam.
A shout out.
You can always depend on Hastam.
Yeah.
Talk about being part of the inner tribe. He's there in the trenches with us.
Well, you've made him the head of Garden America in Pakistan.
and as a fan club, he's the president of the Garden America fan club in Pakistan, and we do appreciate that.
Did I ever tell you? I'm sure I've mentioned this story on the radio a few times, but that I met the president of the Betty White fan club.
Oh, I remember you did share this story. Yeah.
It was a while back.
Yeah. Well, it was at a rose auction? No.
No, it wasn't at a rose auction. It was at the Armstrong Nursery in Torrance. Mm. And I forget what I was doing there, but they came up to me and mentioned they wanted to name a rose after Betty White. And is there any way that I could help them? So
seems like a natural.
Yeah, well, at the time, I had a lot of influence over rose growers because I was one of their largest accounts. So
They'll name it. They'll name it anything.
Yeah, whatever
you
John
want.
wants.
Well, actually, they did.
Yeah, exactly.
And eventually, they even paid me to name roses.
Yeah.
Is it a white rose?
It is white with a soft pink blush.
Okay.
But yeah, it was white.
This kind of seems natural, right?
Yeah. So Star Roses, it was part of the Romantica series, and they were already going to put it out and name it something else. And when I suggested Betty White, they immediately went to Betty White because the name they were going to use was White Romantica.
Oh yeah. Betty Boop Rose. Remember that?
There is a Betty Boop
Yeah,
Rose, yeah.
exactly.
I think that was, I'm not positive, but I think it was the first rose named after a cartoon.
No way, really?
I think so.
Betty Boop.
Yeah.
First
Oh, so
one
now
after
I'm
her?
thinking of all the cartoons out there that have roses named after them.
Yeah.
Is there olive oil?
Mickey
Well, there
Mouse
is.
or Minnie
Bertoli's
Mouse.
is the one that we usually use.
You know what? You can tell people that have been in radio or media or what we do because you can't get a straight answer out of anybody. Everything's a joke. Everything's material.
Yep.
You know, everything's got something behind it.
You know, Carla was looking for a dwarf avocado for a pot, and we mentioned some of the names, but maybe we should mention the characteristics of Holiday.
Yeah.
Because some of them, I think, might stay a little shorter than Holiday, but Holiday's great for a container, and it's kind of weeping.
Mm-hmm.
I like that appearance. Even if you put it in the ground, the fact that it's weeping means that the fruit's usually within reach.
Lower.
Yeah. And it's called Holiday because it begins to ripen Labor Day and goes all the way through Christmas. So that's one I would recommend. The other you mentioned was Little Cotto,
Right.
which is good, but sometimes, am I correct on this? Sometimes it's alternate bearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might only get a good crop every other year.
Yeah.
So I'd go with Holiday.
And Holidays, the fruit size is really, good on it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Where the Little Cotto in Mexico, they actually usually have smaller fruit.
All right,
as well.
this just came to mind. So next week is the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Isn't that like one of the biggest selling days for avocado
Yeah.
and guacamole?
Number
and
one snack food.
Number one snack food
Yep.
for the
Guacamole.
Super Bowl.
Yep.
John, what are you going to look it up?
Fallbrook is
No,
going
I
crazy
think we-
right now.
Yeah, Fallbrook's. You must have people just all over the place up there looking for avocados.
Running down in
crushing
the
'em, right?
trees and
Well, all the avocados Fallbrook is selling right now are from Mexico.
yeah, exactly.
Because it's off season.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah, but yeah, avocado. Yeah, it's the number one, which is funny to think because
Most areas they've never even heard of an avocado.
well, like you just also we talk about that's nationwide. That's not even just
Nationwide,
Southern
yeah, exactly,
California,
yeah. Right,
where
right.
you would think, oh yeah, that makes sense. No, I mean everywhere across the country makes a guacamole dip for a Super Bowl, which I think is funny. It's like, why is that?
How
why
did
is
that become?
And especially, we laugh at these things because, as John mentioned, it's off season, meaning it's not, there's things out there and they're popular because they were the thing in season.
Right, sure.
For that time, and it became popular because it's the season. There's a lot of cherry dishes that happen, at a certain time of year, or peach dishes, or things like that. But avocado is off season for the
Yeah.
Super Bowl, which is funny because what is it? The mandarin, right? Is the symbol for Chinese New Year or kumquat or something like that.
kumquats.
But they're in season.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Imagine if they tried to make it off season
Right.
and then work with their holiday.
Interesting twist.
Yeah.
Let's see. I was looking here, and I think that Carla's referring to the holiday avocado. She wants to know where to get it. Mm-hmm. And she had mentioned she had a gift certificate to Armstrong's, and I think if Armstrong's doesn't have it, you could order it from them.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
probably
should be able
have
to.
holiday avocado, or could get a holiday
Yeah,
avocado.
if we don't have it, we can get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a terribly hard to find
No.
one. Pretty much we have two growers in Southern California. One's called Durling's and one's called Laverne. And I think actually they're one and the same now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I feel like there was something that happened and either one bought out the other or something of that nature. And so that's one that's readily available to us. So any local nursery should be able to at least order it for you, if not have it. So call around. Yeah, it's tough. We don't have many citrus growers anymore in Southern California. It's a challenge.
Well, it's so hard to grow citrus anywhere in the whole country
Yeah.
now because you can't ship between states.
And the way you grow it, like nowadays with California, like you have to grow it in a structure and you have to treat them.
And I was going to say you can't ship between states, and in California, can't even ship between counties sometimes.
Yeah.
So let's see.
But there's a couple rare fruit growers, and up by John, up in Fallbrook, is a wonderful selection of different rare fruit growers that if you were looking for something a little bit more unique, you can find them from them, because a lot of times they'll either have their own contacts or they'll start growing their own stuff. Where John has mentioned a whole slew of different avocados that they might even have one that they recommend outside of the regular ones that we talk about.
Well, if you want to join a garden club, the California Rare Fruit Growers has different chapters in different parts of the state. So, they're always a great source. They even have, budwood sometimes, and there's usually a member who knows how to graft and will graft something up for you, maybe for a fee or maybe because you made him a good friend.
Yep.
Lila says that she ordered a Stewart avocado from Armstrong's Tiger in Thanksgiving, and she hasn't heard a word.
Really? Like I say,
Armstrong's doesn't advertise with us, and we don't promote them. We're just mentioning.
Yeah,
but I did, like I say, like it's tough.
It's hard.
With citrus in California, we only have maybe 2 people to purchase them from, especially when we're talking 5 gallons. Like the thing that happens with 15 gallons is other nurseries will buy the 5s and then just shift them into 15s. So that's why you'll see, other nurseries that have a wide selection of 15-gallon avocados or fruit trees, but not many 5s. And so 5 gallons are much harder to find. And there's less people that grow them. So it's kind of hard, I would say. And it's also a hard time of year for citrus. This is not the time of year that normally people are buying citrus trees and, you're going to have a big selection of them in the store. This time of year, it's slower and harder to find them. But I will say one thing, too, and this is to support.
Can you do this like in 10 seconds?
Yes, support the gardens clubs is the quality of fruit tree that you get nowadays is much lower than what you used to, that I'm sure a hobbyist could graft something wonderful for you compared to what's in the market.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Back after these messages. Biz Talk Radio, this is Garden America. All righty, Garden America has returned from the break. I want to thank those that are tuned in on Biz Talk Radio each and every week. Thank you. And a big thank you to our sponsor, Fertile Loam. Here we go. 3 more segments. We're just smack dab in the middle of the show, John.
Prior to the break, we were talking about avocados, and Tiger was mentioning how hard they are to find. And I have 5 or 6 avocados that I'm going to plant. I guess they're all pretty unusual varieties compared to what you normally see. But
I don't think I've ever seen one of the ones you purchased in the store.
Really?
And what are those varieties?
Marcus Pumpkin.
Sounds like a little nickname for somebody. How's my little Marcus Pumpkin doing?
Reed, which occasionally you can,
Reed.
And you can buy them in supermarkets sometimes. Gem, which is like a giant Hass avocado. Queen.
Okay.
If you're going to watch the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, that's the kind of guacamole you want with you, right?
Of course.
And Nabel. So
not to be confused with navel. This is Nabel.
Right. So those are the ones. But anyway, I got all mine on Etsy. ship right to my house. They're going to be smaller, but I usually like things smaller and watch them grow.
Shallow roots, obviously. Are all avocado trees shallow root or not?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, they're all doing really well, and Tiger's going to come out and fix the back of my house and the hill where they're going to go on, and give irrigation to it. So as soon as that's done, they're all going to go up. And I figured that with 6 avocados, I should have avocados year round for whenever I want.
Well, I will say, and we've talked about this concept before too, that sometimes it's kind of like, why do you plant something? Meaning, we talked about like a lemon, and John has like 3 lemon trees, and he has way too many lemons. And avocados, even though they, when they get established, they do produce really well. It's a valuable fruit.
It is,
and it's worth the effort you put into growing it.
Right.
The return on it is wonderful.
Not only that, you can give them to friends, and they'll still be your friend.
Yeah, where you can give a bushel of lemons. And
Right.
like, I'm just going to throw this in the trash when you walk out the door.
There was a sales guy here a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, came in with 2.
Yeah.
Took them home. Took about maybe 3-4 days to ripen. Outstanding.
Yeah.
Just
The lemons?
good. No, I'm sorry,
Avocados.
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 Yeah.
Oh.
And like Tiger said, you're right. It's like we couldn't wait.
Yeah.
We couldn't wait for them to ripen up.
The nice thing about avocados as a commercial crop is they won't ripen on the tree.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can go through and pick them whenever you want.
Yep.
And
Just leave on there what you don't.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, occasionally, if you leave them too long, they'll just fall off eventually.
Was there a question about the narcissus?
Yeah. John in Newport Beach said, Tiger, did you see his question about Narcissus early cheer? And I guess I missed that.
Were you able to find it or no? Because I didn't see it either.
Yeah, go ahead and repost it if you would.
Let me see if I can go
It'll
back
be top
to-
of mind unless we come across it.
Maybe I can go back. I have a way to see if I can find it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going back, but I don't see it either.
It's funny, and that. Oh, here. Oh, did you know? Early cheer. It sounds like we're saying early cheer,
Right.
but and then we are saying early cheer, but it's not. Is it German? Do you know? Is it Dutch?
Ehrlicher?
Yeah,
You're
Oh.
thinking that's what it is?
It is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Ehrlicher.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
more like
I thought it was.
joyful, or that. Like that's the word. It's not an English word. Is what I'm getting at.
Oh, okay, because I thought it was a play on words. Like it would be an early blooming
Right.
narcissus,
but
call
the-
it early cheer.
But it's not early cheer. It's
Ehrlicher.
Ehrlicher, which is a different language, and it means more like joy. It is an early narcissus, though, too.
Okay.
And it's a double one that looks like a gardenia blossom.
Stop, you're both right.
But, it's funny when you say things over the radio, and they would instantly, like, think,
Right.
oh, this is, early cheer. Like, go and look for this gardenia or this paper white, and, they're going to pull up something else. It's funny.
So did you find his question or no?
And he hasn't reposted it, no.
Okay.
But I'm working on it.
I'm sure he will. Paula mentions, remember the movie she was talking about earlier, Ruth Stout's Garden?
Right. It's on YouTube, I guess, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna watch that. Sounds interesting. I still am trying to figure out, I just have to do research, I guess, but I think for sure you and I talked about this, Bryan, but there was in 1962, I think it was either 61 or 62, there was an ABC special on TV called The Silent Spring of Rachel Carson. And she was dying of cancer when they made that. So it was very interesting, and as a young boy, it really impressed me.
Strapping young lad, I might add.
And I never forgot that video, but I always wanted to see it again. And that's something you can't find on YouTube, and I could never find it anywhere. And I thought, I wonder, do they keep copies of those? Do they get lost? And I'm trying to think now, maybe it was 30 years ago, maybe a little longer, whenever eBay first came out, somebody put on eBay the 16 millimeter copy of the show.
So the film.
The
actual film itself.
The actual film. And they put it on eBay. And I had never used eBay, but I saw it there, and I thought, oh, wow, here's why no one can see it, because here it is right here. The film's right here. So I bid on it, and I think I remember bidding like $20, and I ended up getting it.
Oh.
And I've still have never seen it.
We'll get it transferred. You can take it to get transferred.
I had it
digital.
transferred to a DVD. But now I don't have a DVD player. So that was about, I think, maybe 10 years ago I had it transferred. So it's not...
it's interesting because laptops and computers used to have
DVD
slots
players.
for DVD players.
Yeah.
You just slip it in the side and it would play it
What's
for you.
up with that?
I don't know. What's up with that? Anyway, we got about a minute with that question. So you found it, right?
So, yeah, I found it. And John was asking if we can identify it because he bought a bag of bulbs at Costco and they're blooming now. And one has 8 small rose-like white and extremely fragrant blossoms on one stalk. I'd like to buy more. Closest I can come is something called Summer Daffodil or Narcissus Early Cheer. What is that, and who might I call to buy more? Okay,
we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and answer that, hopefully, here on Garden America. 2 more segments, Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. We thank you for joining us. Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox, as usual, taking a break. This is Garden America. We have returned, as promised, here on Garden America. A couple of more segments to go. So, again, thank you for joining us, those that have been with us since the beginning and those just tuning in.
Got a question for you, Brian.
I think I saw that from Kevin, my favorite patio plant.
Yeah.
I would have to say.
Now, this is one that you favor over the rest of your patio garden.
Well, that's like having kids, right? Which kid do you favor?
Yeah, and then he wants to know the backstory behind it.
Well, I guess there's interesting. Is your favorite necessarily the one that you pay more attention to, or?
Well, yeah, you would think you would.
Yeah.
For a while.
So I have plumeria. I've got the palms, roses,
hibiscus,
calla
lilies.
Yeah.
Or does your favorite change? Is it whatever's coming into bloom at that time?
And that's good too. The calla lily, I think right now, I would have to put up there because I've never grown one.
And it's doing really well.
I've been very successful with it. I love the way it looks. I love the blooms. When the plumeria is in bloom, I would favor that.
Yeah.
And then there's the roses. So let's go with calla lily right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's seasonal.
It is seasonal with me. Exactly. Right.
Brian has seasonal loves, Kevin.
Yes.
So to address
we got to finish up John's
question.
Right.
It does sound like what he's describing. It would not be available right now.
Right.
Even if you went online and found a resource, they're going to say fall of this year.
Fall shipping, yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to have it right now. And then in terms of the plant, we've talked about this. Somebody else asked, is are narcissus daffodils?
Yeah, Lenore wanted to know that.
Yeah, and so
the answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes. And
daffodils are narcissus, right? Isn't narcissus the genus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, and then so it sounds like that's the variety that you did get. It makes sense that someone like Costco would have that. You can't get it until the fall, but as far as who you can get it from, obviously the easiest source would be someone online. There's a lot of companies that sell bulbs online. There's no guarantee a nursery or Costco would have it again in the fall if you wanted to grow that one again. And we talked about this, was it last show, about those where this year you have to let it go completely dormant again. So you want to make sure that the
about
plant,
not cutting the leaves
yeah.
off.
Right.
So
to build up the bulb.
John, when the flower finishes its thing and the plant doesn't look all that great, you can't touch it until it's all the way brown and all the way falling down to the ground where it looks like it's dead. Do not trim off that foliage. Do not cut it back. Let the plant go through the full cycle, because then you'll get new blossoms next year and new plants.
Yeah, I was going to say that plant will multiply itself eventually. So you might want to mark it, and after it has turned brown and it's dormant, you could actually pull that one out of the group, and you would know where it was.
Yeah.
Tanya wants to know what color my calla lily is.
Oh, we mentioned it was the one called Green Goddess.
Right.
And it was called that because it looked like you took a paintbrush and painted green paint on the tip of the bulb.
Yeah.
Or the flower. Yeah. Yeah, so it's white. It's white,
White.
but then just the
With-
end
with
is streaked
splotches.
with green.
Carla thought the show was over. That's funny. We're still here.
The we were talking about Narcissus being the genus for daffodils, paper whites, and all those plants, and the name comes from Bryan. You know, right? The Greek story of Narcissus.
Oh, well, we know it's the derivative is narcissistic.
Well, being a narcissist comes from that story.
Right. Thinking of yourself, you come first.
Right. And Narcissus was in the Greek story, looked at his reflection in a pond and fell in love with himself.
Yeah.
Right.
And anyway, I guess.
So that's what the bulbs did?
Well, no, but somebody thought, wow, these bulbs are just as good looking as Narcissus was. So that's where the term came from.
Yeah, I think we took Greek mythology. I want to say, was it 9th grade? I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems like an odd course for high school.
No, junior high.
Junior high.
He was in special classes.
Junior high. We were special. Yeah, Icarus. Let me ask Tiger. Let me ask you a Greek question.
Okay.
Do you know who Icarus was?
I've heard the name before, but if you ask me to recall him, no.
He flew too close to the sun, and
that's right.
the
Yes.
wax wings melted, and he plummeted to Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had wings made of wax.
That
So
makes
he
a
could
lot of
fly.
sense if you're flying to the sun.
No, he got too close.
Yeah, got too close to the sun.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite Greek god or hero, John?
I always liked Hercules.
I thought you mean more of an Aphrodite kind of a guy.
Aphrodite was okay.
I feel like there's some really good ones that, I can't recall one off the top of my head right now.
Poseidon.
But there's some even really like good obscure ones, you know what I mean? That like are kind of like a lot of fun.
Like Achilles?
Or just
Oh, yeah, Achilles was good.
just different funny ones.
And will we get names, for things?
Yeah.
Like your Achilles heel?
Yep.
Like you injure that, you're done.
Yeah.
Who was the one that was, I can't remember the whole story about the race, but
Nike?
if
The
she,
Greek god Nike. That's good.
this was a woman, and if she had to marry somebody if she lost this race, so she had golden apples that she would throw during the race so that the person she was racing against would stop. And pick them up.
Oh.
That
So-
does sound familiar.
She didn't
I
have
can't
to
remember
marry
the
him.
name.
Yeah, I can't remember that. I remember the story, but not the name.
That's funny. There's some great stories with Greek characters in it that are fun. And if you were to say which Greek, god or which character was your best, there's some fun
Just
ones.
go for the
out there.
big one. Go for Zeus.
Yeah, just go for the top.
Go for the top guy.
Yeah.
I think there was a cartoon back in the 60s, Hercules.
Yeah.
And then all those Zeus and all those Greek goddesses and gods were in there, and they had Mount Olympus. And I was fascinated as a kid.
Veronica mentioned how there was a nice picture in the newsletter of your green goddess Kala.
Yes.
So anyone who gets
Thank
the
you.
newsletter can take a look at that.
Yeah, I got to trim it this weekend, too. I got to do a little maintenance today out there. I've got a couple of plants under the eaves that I haven't watered.
Yeah.
They're palms. They're okay.
Yeah, they'll be all
The
right.
rubber plant, though, needs a little water. A little bit of water.
It was
And-
Diana that was in the apple race.
Oh, thank you. See? This is why you have listeners and viewers like that.
Yeah.
Lenore says she's having a pain right now in her Achilles.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry about that. And Veronica says, don't forget Jason and the Argonauts.
see,
That's enough. Yeah.
yeah, there's some good ones.
You know, it's interesting. I love it when we kind of go off on a little tangent and our listeners and viewers follow us right along.
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you the name of this. And this
Like
is what this
lemmings,
was.
right?
Right. Exactly.
I like how Veronica did right. Guacamole is always in season, and that's just the world we live in nowadays, where we just assume everything is in season.
You know, speaking of that, when we had Ed Livo on a month or so ago, and he was talking about, because I know Dana goes through this a lot, you know, she'll buy, you know, cuties, little tomatoes one week, and the next week they're not good, but it's the same brand, and how come they vary up and down? And Ed talked about the weather. He talked about the shipment. He talked about you can come from
Well, it's the same, the same brand, but not the same variety.
but not the same variety, or just that conditions can affect the way it tastes.
Yeah, just like if she sent you to the store to buy an apple, you know, who knows what you would come home with, right?
Make sure they're Jazz apples, and you buy the Jazz, and they don't they taste mealy. Well, they're Jazz. That's what you wanted.
Might be Jazz out of season.
Exactly. Which gets it's like blueberries.
Yeah,
Come
there's different ones in different seasons. I'm getting spoiled on the large, extra large blueberries.
Well, yeah, they're the size of apples.
Well, not quite that big, but they're at double or triple the size of a regular
And then you
blueberry.
kind of wonder,
What?
how'd they get that big?
You think
It's just
Was-
the variety.
Question everything.
you think
Question
they're
authority.
You think they're injecting it with
Water, each berry
Hormones.
with water.
There was a bumper sticker back in the 70s that just said question authority.
that was it was a punk rock band or something that made those or something, didn't it? Wasn't it like
Something.
Question
And
authority.
then John's favorite group, Social Distortion.
yeah.
My cousin had a band called
I thought you were going to say your cousin had a pony.
had a band called the Cement Flower.
Okay. All right. We got to take a break.
All right.
One more segment, gang. Get it in. This is
Yep.
it. Questions, comments, Biz Talk Radio. It is Garden America and will be after this break here on Biz Talk Radio and Facebook Live. All right. That said,
Yeah, and Lenore,
We are back.
we weren't making fun of the pain in your Achilles. It's just the way that it went in with our conversation.
exactly.
So we do hope that you feel better. And my wife has been going through sciatica right now, which is just
Who is?
Shannon.
Well, I told you, I've got it too.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Now, right now, it's okay. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it'll flare up. You can't get in a comfortable position.
No.
It's all nerves.
And there's nothing you can take for it.
No, you could get injections and shots. Pain pills won't do it.
No.
You can exercise and stretch. That'll help temporarily, but no, it's the worst.
Yeah.
So I feel for Shannon. Go home and share my pain with
She's
her.
had it for a month now.
Oh, mine's
She
going
can't
on a
even
year.
sleep.
I've been to the doctor, and they're like you said, like, well, what do you mean, well? Well, you could try acupuncture. You could try this.
Can you sleep?
Off and on. I have to get
Okay.
into a position, stretch it out, and then
Yeah.
hopefully fall asleep.
Yeah, she can't lay down.
It's terrible.
So she has to sleep sitting up.
It's terrible. Now, Veronica says total 60s resistance against the man.
Yeah.
Yes,
Question authority.
absolutely. And what else do they say? They say if you remember the 60s, you didn't live through it.
Oh, gosh. Paula, my Juliet grape tomato is just looking sad. Paula, we talk about this right now. We talk about this during this time of year in the show. And I know I should not grow a plant that long, but love the year-round crop. And you're right. It is looking sad, but just embrace the idea
bear
you
with
have a tomato. Embrace the idea that the plant is surviving, and it's
Yeah,
there.
no one else has tomatoes.
Yeah,
You know,
you're winning. It might be looking sad.
But you're winning.
Yeah, exactly.
we used to.
You need more friends on the East Coast.
Our dearly departed friend Steve Godo started a program in Southern California called Winter Tomatoes. And they were tomatoes that you would plant in August, and they would give you fruit all the way through till January or February.
Now remember that.
Yeah. On those tomatoes, though, what made them winter tomatoes is that they would set fruit when nighttime temperatures were cold. So even when the nighttime temperatures would go into the 30s and 40s, they would continue to fruit.
Yeah, and they had a very a short, cycle where some of the other ones that you started in the spring had. They needed that time. You know what I mean?
But just because it was a short season tomato or an early tomato did not mean that it was
would be a winter.
Right. For instance, Early Girl. When we started that program, a lot of people said, "Oh, well, here's Early Girl because it's an
Makes sense.
But Early Girl does not set fruit under cold conditions, so that was not a winter tomato. And Brian, you remember that most of the names of those tomatoes
We're all cold seasons.
were cold
Topeka
season, yeah.
and all the rest.
From Russia,
Yeah, you had
San Francisco,
Manitoba,
Names that reflected environments
Siberia.
of cold countries. Yeah.
Ice Cap.
Yeah, that's a good name.
I don't know. There was,
I like Ice Cap.
Greenland's been in the news lately,
Yeah.
and there was a tomato called Arctic.
Char.
There were several Arctic tomatoes,
Arctic char.
but I think it was called Arctic Subplenty, and it was developed by the Navy to feed the soldiers in Greenland during the winter. Well, during I guess their winter would be year long.
During the winter, during every day.
Yeah.
I know you've talked about the value of purple tomatoes with the
Right.
antioxidants and
Anthocyanins, right.
anthocyanins and all that.
Lycopene,
What is
right?
the value of a red tomato? Like what is its number one nutrient?
Is it lycopene, John?
Well, lycopene is the nutrient that's in it.
But
But-
is that
but-
like something super valuable to us that like you
Yeah,
just
you
said, the
need
Navy's trying to
lycopene. I
grow.
think it's good
the
for you.
Navy's trying to grow them to produce something for people to eat.
Yeah,
They usually
we get
only
vitamin C and different vitamins
from those.
right.
Okay. Because, there's no point in learning how to grow a celery somewhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Is there any nutrients in a celery?
that's what I'm saying.
Negative.
Nobody's developing, celery. Oh, I know the show's about to wrap up.
We got
but
about
I
3
went
minutes.
I went to a crazy dive on the story of a carrot because there was this whole woman that came out and she's some like vegan activist and how nobody should eat a carrot. Do you know the story of carrots? Queen Anne's lace.
I know Queen Anne's lace is in the carrot family.
Correct.
Yeah.
So she connected that we as a society, the carrot's only 200 years old, she established. And we as a
And they
society.
were purple to begin with.
Correct. But we created the carrot from Queen Anne's lace. That's what her connection was. And that we created this carrot. And Queen Anne's lace was a natural morning after pill. It was a natural like birth control pill kind of a thing. Queen Anne's lace is what she says. And she would never let her kid or family eat this because of this connection. Anyways, it's not connected at all in that way. But so I took a deep dive into where carrots came from.
Oh, really?
And
Only 200 years?
yeah, number one, carrots are way older than that.
Of course they are.
And they weren't created by people. There's documents in like
Right.
China and Egypt with
course.
carrots. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So anyways, but it was just this crazy deep dive. If you ever have a chance, look into the story of the carrot because there's a lot of weird twists and turns of the carrot and who created it and why they created it and all this
But
stuff.
now your deep dive was factual.
Yeah.
Where hers was like a fairy tale.
Hers, it's a very loose connection, right? Yes, like John mentioned, they are connected, just like a tomato and nightshade.
Well, it was
are.
about 200 years ago they became orange. So maybe that's what she was thinking of.
Right. I think that's where she created her connection, but like
Yeah.
we're saying, that's no. Like,
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not.
that's the trouble with, Googling things and getting an AI description now.
Right.
Is that oftentimes it's just completely wrong.
yeah.
Well, I know it's not wrong. We have to say goodbye. Adios, sayonara. Arrivederci. It's time to go.
Oh.
Now we're off next week.
Oh,
Yep.
we are off.
We are off just
Yeah.
next week.
We're back Valentine's weekend.
We're back, though. Back, baby. Valentine's Day. Thank you for tuning in. Facebook Live, Biz Talk Radio. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. It's been real nice, as a matter of fact. So we're going to say goodbye until 2 weeks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. For the entire crew, I'm Bryan Main. Tiger Palafox John Bagnesco, be safe, have a great weekend, and we'll do it again in 2 weeks right here on Garden America. Take care.